Welcome to WebLizard Cert Lab. This video is part of the AB-650 practice set with 33 questions on Microsoft 365 tenant and workload administration. You will practice decisions involving branding, domains, licensing, backup, service health, mailboxes, Teams, and SharePoint controls that support Copilot readiness. You will hear each complete question and every answer option. After the cue, lock in your answer, there is a true 3-second silence. The correct selection then appears before a concise explanation of the deciding scope, sequence, or control. Pause whenever you want more thinking time. Question 1. Contoso already uses one corporate theme for all Microsoft 365 users. Members of the Microsoft 365 group named Mergers must instead see the acquired company's logo in the Microsoft 365 experience. When those members select the logo, a transition portal must open. Users outside Mergers must retain the corporate theme. Which configuration should you implement? Answer A. Create a Microsoft 365 group theme, assign it to a security group containing the Mergers members, and configure the logo and its transition portal URL. Answer B. Replace the logo in the default Microsoft 365 organization theme and configure the transition portal URL on its logos page. Answer C. Create a Microsoft intra-application branding theme for Mergers and set its background image and page background color to the acquired company's assets. Answer D. Create a Microsoft 365 group theme assigned to the Mergers group, add the acquired company's logo, and configure the transition portal URL for that logo. Lock in your answer. The answer is D. Create a Microsoft 365 group theme assigned to the Mergers group, add the acquired company's logo, and configure the transition portal URL for that logo. A Microsoft 365 group theme provides the documented audience boundary for one or more Microsoft 365 groups without replacing the default theme that applies to everyone. First, identify the rendered surface and audience. Use Microsoft 365 organization themes for the Microsoft 365 experience, group themes for a Microsoft 365 group cohort, and the theme's logos configuration for logo click navigation. Question 2. Contoso has a registered expense application. When users authenticate to this application, the entire space behind the sign-in box must use a campaign color. Authentication pages for other applications and the Microsoft 365 suite header must retain their existing branding. What should you configure? Answer A. Change the colors in the default Microsoft 365 organization theme. Answer B. Create a Microsoft Entra branding theme for the expense application and set its page background color. Answer C. Set the page background color in the tenant's default Microsoft Entra branding. Answer D. Create a Microsoft Entra branding theme for the expense application and change only its header. Lock in your answer. A Microsoft Entra application branding theme provides a unique authentication experience for one application and can override default branding. B is correct. Create a Microsoft Entra branding theme for the expense application and set its page background color. Option D is the useful contrast. An application-specific theme has the correct scope, but the header is a different branding element and does not fill the entire space behind the sign-in box. First, identify the branded surface and audience. Application authentication points to an application branding theme, while the entire area behind the sign-in box points to the background image or page background color property. Question 3. Fabricam will retain one default Microsoft 365 organization theme. Legal and sales can share one non-default suite header design, while HR, finance, and research each require a different non-default design. Each department is represented by a Microsoft 365 group. Which design plan is supported? Answer A. Create a separate default organization theme for each department and retire the tenant-wide default theme. Answer B. create 5 additional group themes and assign one theme separately to each department group. Answer C, create 4 Microsoft Entra application branding themes and assign them to the department groups. Answer D, create 4 additional group themes, assign the shared theme to both legal and sales, and assign one of the other themes to each remaining department group. Lock in your answer. For organization theme capacity questions, count distinct non-default designs rather than groups. A single additional theme can serve multiple Microsoft 365 groups. Microsoft 365 supports one default organization theme and up to 4 additional group themes. That points to D. Create 4 additional group themes, assign the shared theme to both legal and sales, and assign one of the other themes to each remaining department group. Question 4. Fabricam is adding fabricam.example to Microsoft 365. Its registrar does not support Domain Connect, and the domain will be used for email. The migration plan must establish ownership, configure the records required by the selected Microsoft 365 services, and avoid interrupting mail when the Microsoft 365 MX record is added. Which plan meets the requirements? Answer A. Add the Microsoft 365 Service DNS records manually, create the users and mailboxes, and omit the separate domain ownership confirmation. Answer B. Authorize Domain Connect to confirm ownership and add the service DNS records, and then create the mailboxes after the MX record is active. Answer C. Add only the ownership verification record manually. Add the Microsoft 365 MX record, and then create the users and mailboxes. Answer D. Manually confirm ownership and add the appropriate service DNS records at the registrar. After adding the custom domain, create all email users and mailboxes before adding the Microsoft 365 MX record. Lock in your answer. Separate domain proof from service enablement. If Domain Connect is unavailable, perform both manually. For email, prepare users and mailboxes before the Microsoft 365 MX cutover. Choose D. Manually confirm ownership and add the appropriate service DNS records at the registrar. After adding the custom domain, create all email users and mailboxes before adding the Microsoft 365 MX record. When a registrar lacks Domain Connect, ownership confirmation and the appropriate Microsoft 365 Service DNS records must be handled manually at the registrar. Question 5. Northwind is moving production email for an existing custom domain from another provider to Microsoft 365. The migration must avoid interrupting inbound email for users on the domain. Which sequence should the administrator use? Answer A. Add the custom domain, add the Microsoft 365 MX record, and then add users and set up their Microsoft 365 mailboxes. Answer B. Add all email users and set up their Microsoft 365 mailboxes, add the custom domain, and then add the Microsoft 365 MX record. Answer C. Add the custom domain, add all email users and set up their Microsoft 365 mailboxes, and then add the Microsoft 365 MX record. Answer D. Add the Microsoft 365 MX record, add the custom domain, and then add all email users and set up their Microsoft 365 mailboxes. Lock in your answer. For a Microsoft 365 email migration, add the custom domain first. In a mail domain cutover, treat the MX record as the traffic switch. Establish the domain and recipients before switching inbound mail. The supported choice is C. Add the custom domain, add all email users and set up their Microsoft 365 mailboxes, and then add the Microsoft 365 MX record. Question 6. A migration team has tested Microsoft 365 email with a pilot group. The final change will replace the MX record for the entire custom domain. To preserve email continuity when that record is changed, which recipient readiness plan should the team use? Answer A, create Microsoft 365 mailboxes for every domain user before adding the custom domain, and then change the MX record. Answer B, after adding the custom domain, add every email user on the domain and set up each Microsoft 365 mailbox before changing the MX record. Answer C, before changing the MX record, set up Microsoft 365 mailboxes only for the pilot users. Provision the remaining domain users after cutover. Answer D, add the custom domain and change the MX record, and then create Microsoft 365 mailboxes for every email user as messages arrive. Lock in your answer. Go with B. After adding the custom domain, add every email user on the domain and set up each Microsoft 365 mailbox before changing the MX record. The recipient readiness scope is every email user on the domain, not only the pilot cohort. When a routing change applies to an entire email domain, size recipient readiness to the routing scope rather than to the pilot population. Question 7. A Microsoft 365 administrator receives 2 tenant-wide requests: update the organization profile and change the password policy expiration date. The administrator must route each request to a documented Microsoft 365 Admin Center settings area without assuming unsupported field-level steps. Which 2 actions should the administrator take? Answer A. For the password policy and expiration request, use the Microsoft 365 Admin Center settings category. Answer B. For the organization profile request, deploy a Microsoft 365 Apps Diagnostic Data privacy policy. Answer C. For the password policy and expiration request, create a Microsoft intra-application branding theme. Answer D. For the organization profile request, go to Settings, Org Settings, Organization Profile. Lock in your answer. The documented organization profile path is Settings, Org Settings, Organization Profile. A and D are correct. A. For the password policy and expiration request, use the Microsoft 365 Admin Center settings category. D. For the organization profile request, go to Settings, Org Settings, Organization Profile. Classify the requested setting before choosing a control plane. Tenant organization profile and password policy categories belong to Microsoft 365 Admin Center settings, not Office Client Privacy or application branding. Question 8. An organization must centrally govern whether Microsoft 365 Apps for Enterprise can use cloud-based functionality that provides enhanced Office features. The endpoint team will deploy the control through Microsoft's cloud policy mechanism and must not change the tenant organization profile. Which 2 configuration choices meet the requirement? Answer A. Configure the Microsoft 365 Apps Privacy Control Access for diagnostic data. Answer B. Make the change from Settings, Org Settings, Organization Profile. Answer C. Implement the selected privacy policy by using Cloud Policy. Answer D. Configure the Microsoft 365 Apps Privacy Control Access for connected experiences. Lock in your answer. Separate what the policy governs from how it is delivered. Connected experiences is the privacy access, while group policy or cloud policy is the implementation family. Connected experiences are the Microsoft 365 Apps Privacy Control Access for cloud-based functionality that enhances Office features. Choose C and D. First, C. Implement the selected privacy policy by using Cloud Policy. Then, D. Configure the Microsoft 365 Apps Privacy Control Access for connected experiences. Question 9. Operations must adjust how the tenant receives service updates and must control whether a delegated partner can enter the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Which 2 Admin Center actions are documented for these requests? Answer A. Use settings to change the tenant's release preferences. Answer B. Use health to control whether partners can access the admin center. Answer C. Use settings to choose whether partners can access the admin center. Answer D. Use setup to change the tenant's release preferences. Lock in your answer. Map each tenant request to the documented Admin Center menu. Release preferences and Partner Admin Center access are both handled under Settings. The two answers are A and C. Start with A. Use settings to change the tenant's release preferences. Add C. Use settings to choose whether partners can access the Admin Center. The Microsoft 365 Admin Center documents Settings as the menu for changing the organization profile and release preferences, and for choosing whether partners can access the Admin Center. Question 10. A reorganization requires moving a user from the Research License Group to the Engineering License Group. Both groups use group-based licensing, and the user's licensed services must remain available throughout the move. Which procedure should the administrator use? Answer A. Add the user to Engineering, immediately remove the user from Research, and then confirm the new license on the user's licenses page. Answer B. Remove the user from Research, add the user to Engineering, and then confirm the new license on the user's licenses page. Answer C. Confirm the Engineering license on the user's licenses page, remove the user from Research, and then add the user to Engineering. Answer D. Add the user to Engineering, confirm the new license on the user's licenses page, and then remove the user from Research. Lock in your answer. To avoid service interruption, add the user to the destination licensed group first. Confirm that the new license appears on the user's licenses page, and only then remove the user from the original licensed group. For group license moves, preserve the old entitlement until the new entitlement is visibly applied. Add, confirm, then remove. D is correct. Add the user to Engineering. Confirm the new license on the user's licenses page, and then remove the user from Research. Question 11. A tenant is preparing a Microsoft 365 pay-as-you-go service. Finance requires the service to use the correct Azure billing boundary and wants post-setup visibility into consumption and cost. Which three elements should be included in the plan? Answer A. Use an Azure subscription in the same tenant as Microsoft 365. Answer B. Use an Azure resource group in that subscription. Answer C. Use an Azure subscription from a separate tenant to isolate Microsoft 365 charges. Answer D. After setup, monitor metered consumption only from the Microsoft 365 seat license inventory. Answer E. After setup, monitor usage and costs in Microsoft Cost Management for Azure with at least read access to the billing resource group. Lock in your answer. Use A, B, and E. First, A. Use an Azure subscription in the same tenant as Microsoft 365. Next, B. Use an Azure resource group in that subscription. Finally, E. After setup, monitor usage and costs in Microsoft Cost Management for Azure, with at least read access to the billing resource group. Microsoft 365 pay-as-you-go setup requires an Azure subscription in the same tenant and an Azure resource group in that subscription. For metered Microsoft 365 services, trace both lifecycle phases. Bind billing to same tenant Azure resources during setup, then use Azure Cost Management for consumption visibility. Question 12. Contoso wants 20 designated makers to create and manage agents in Microsoft Copilot Studio. The same users must also use Microsoft 365 Copilot. The organization has not yet completed licensing for either service. Which three licensing actions are required? Answer A. Have the tenant administrator acquire the Copilot Studio organization tenant license without assigning that license to individual makers. Answer B. Assign Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses to the intended users individually or through a group. Answer C. Assign a Copilot Studio user license to each designated maker who will create and manage agents. Answer D. Assign only Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses to the makers and use those licenses as their Copilot Studio creator entitlements. Answer E. Assign the Copilot Studio organization tenant license directly to each designated maker as that user's creator license. Lock in your answer. Copilot Studio requires an organization tenant license, acquired by the tenant administrator, and a Copilot Studio user license for each person who creates or manages agents. Select A, B, and C. First, A. Have the tenant administrator acquire the Copilot Studio organization tenant license without assigning that license to individual makers. Next, B. Assign Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses to the intended users individually or through a group. Finally, C. Assign a Copilot Studio user license to each designated maker who will create and manage agents. Separate organization entitlement from user assignment. A tenant license establishes Copilot Studio at the organization level, while Creator and Microsoft 365 Copilot access require the appropriate assignable user licenses. Question 13. A tenant can view its agent inventory and use basic agent governance functions in Microsoft Agent 365. However, the Microsoft 365 Admin Center does not show visualization or telemetry for agent activity. Administrators have not yet confirmed the tenant's Microsoft Agent 365 plan capabilities. What should they do first? Answer A. Reconfigure agent registry inventory permissions, because inventory access automatically enables activity telemetry. Answer B. Recreate the basic governance actions so their configuration generates visualization and telemetry. Answer C. Verify that the tenant's Microsoft Agent 365 plan includes observability and monitoring of agent activity. Answer D. Change Copilot Studio capacity monitoring because all Microsoft Agent 365 telemetry is controlled there. Lock in your answer. When one capability is missing while adjacent capabilities work, check whether the missing capability is included in the current plan before changing configuration. Microsoft Agent 365 observability and monitoring is plan-dependent rather than available in every plan column. The supported choice is C. Verify that the tenant's Microsoft Agent 365 plan includes observability and monitoring of agent activity. Question 14. An organization is adopting Microsoft 365 Backup for selected Microsoft 365 content. No Azure subscription has been linked for backup. Microsoft 365 Backup is not enabled, and no protection policies exist. Which sequence should the administrator use? Answer A. Link an Azure subscription through pay-as-you-go and stop because billing linkage immediately protects the selected content. Answer B. Create Azure backup policies for the content and then enable Microsoft 365 Backup only if a restore is requested. Answer C. Create the workload protection policies, enable Microsoft 365 Backup, and then link an Azure subscription through pay-as-you-go. Answer D. Link an Azure subscription through pay-as-you-go, enable Microsoft 365 Backup for the organization, and then create the workload protection policies. Lock in your answer. Separate billing linkage, service enablement, and protection policy creation. Completing an earlier prerequisite does not perform the later protection step. Go with D. Link an Azure subscription through pay-as-you-go, enable Microsoft 365 Backup for the organization, and then create the workload protection policies. The documented onboarding boundary is sequential. Linking an Azure subscription through pay-as-you-go is the first setup step. Question 15. A backup operations team must receive email alerts about potentially harmful Microsoft 365 backup events. The team must also be notified when restores are initiated or completed. Which configuration meets both requirements? Answer A. Configure the backup notification list for potentially harmful events, and opt in to routine event notifications. Answer B. Configure the backup notification list for routine events only. Answer C. Configure the backup notification list for potentially harmful events only. Answer D. Use Azure cost alerts for harmful backup changes and use the backup notification list only for restores. Lock in your answer. Microsoft 365 Backup can notify a backup notification list about potentially harmful events and can separately include optional routine events. Map each requested event to its documented event category, then enable every category needed by the monitoring requirement. The best response is A. Configure the backup notification list for potentially harmful events and opt in to routine event notifications. Question 16. A 45-person compliance rotation must receive Microsoft 365 backup notifications. The team is already represented by one security group, and a relevant backup event occurred today. The administrator wants a supported recipient configuration without maintaining dozens of individual entries. What should the administrator expect to configure? Answer A. Link one Azure pay-as-you-go subscription per recipient, because billing linkage controls who receives backup notifications. Answer B. Create one backup protection policy per recipient, because protection policy membership controls notification delivery. Answer C. Add the security group to the backup notification list. Recipients receive a daily email digest when at least one relevant event occurs. Answer D. Add all 45 people as individual recipients to one backup notification list, because the individual recipient limit is 50. Lock in your answer. Answer C is correct. Add the security group to the backup notification list. Recipients receive a daily email digest when at least one relevant event occurs. The backup notification list permits distribution lists and security groups, while direct individual entries are limited to 20. For large notification audiences, distinguish the limit on direct individual entries from the ability to use an approved group recipient. Question 17. An administrator opens the Network Connectivity page in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for the first time. The page does not yet provide usable Office assessments, a global performance map, or location-scoped issues. What should the administrator do first? Answer A. Configure the organization's Office locations so the page can produce tenant and location-scoped network views. Answer B. Start applying performance recommendations without associating the evidence with any Office location. Answer C. Run a local connectivity test at one office and treat that result as the location configuration for every office. Answer D. Review the tenant-wide assessment before configuring locations because it automatically discovers every office. Lock in your answer. Location configuration is required when first using the network performance page. The answer is A. Configure the organization's Office locations so the page can produce tenant and location-scoped network views. If a Network Insight page is empty on initial use, verify its location model prerequisite before troubleshooting metrics or applying recommendations. Question 18. Network connectivity locations are configured for 4 offices. The Microsoft 365 Admin Center shows degraded network quality at one branch, while the other offices are healthy. The tenant-level view does not reveal the root cause. Which investigation approach should the network team use? Answer A. Use the Admin Center location insight to identify the affected branch, and then run the Microsoft 365 connectivity test locally at that branch. Answer B. Use Service Health to rank Office network quality and run a local connectivity test only if a Microsoft incident is listed. Answer C. Use only the Admin Center aggregate because local testing cannot provide deeper root cause evidence. Answer D. Skip the location comparison and run local tests at every office before reviewing any Admin Center insight. Lock in your answer. Use broad location-aware telemetry to isolate scope. Then use deeper local evidence only where the broad signal identifies a problem. The two evidence layers are complementary. A is correct. Use the Admin Center Location Insight to identify the affected branch, and then run the Microsoft 365 connectivity test locally at that branch. Question 19. Users report an intermittent Microsoft 365 service disruption. A tenant configuration problem and a Microsoft-managed service incident are both plausible, and the operations lead must identify the next operational owner before remediation begins. What should an administrator review? Answer A. Configure service health email notifications first and infer ownership from whether an email arrives. Answer B. Review service health to determine whether the issue is listed as requiring action by the organization or as an active issue Microsoft is working on. Answer C. Begin tenant-side remediation immediately because user reports alone establish that the organization owns the issue. Answer D. Wait for Microsoft remediation immediately because user reports alone establish that Microsoft owns the issue. Lock in your answer. Before acting on a service disruption, classify the fault domain using the service's ownership signal rather than the symptom report alone. That points to B. Review service health to determine whether the issue is listed as requiring action by the organization or as an active issue Microsoft is working on. Service health separates issues detected in the tenant environment that require organizational action from active incidents and advisories Microsoft is working to resolve. Question 20. An operations team wants email notifications for new incidents and status changes that affect Exchange Online or SharePoint Online. Notifications must go to two operations addresses. The team does not want advisories or notifications for other services. Which three settings should the administrator specify in service health? Answer A. Enter the two operations email addresses as the notification recipients. Answer B. Subscribe the two operations addresses to updates for one currently active incident. Answer C. Select only Exchange Online and SharePoint Online as the notification services. Answer D. Select incidents and exclude advisories as the notification issue types. Answer E. Select every Microsoft 365 service as a notification service. Lock in your answer. Service Health email preferences support up to two addresses and can be scoped by issue type and service. For health notifications, independently map audience, issue type, and service scope. All three dimensions must match the requirement. The complete set is A, C, and D. Begin with A. Enter the two operations email addresses as the notification recipients. Also choose C. Select only Exchange Online and SharePoint Online as the notification services. Finish with D. Select incidents and exclude advisories as the notification issue types. Question 21. An administrator can open Service Health and view the rest of the page normally. The section labeled Issues for Your Organization to Act On is absent. What is the most accurate interpretation of that specific section's absence? Answer A. The absence proves that Microsoft has no active incidents or advisories for the tenant. Answer B. The absence proves that every user-reported disruption should be left for Microsoft to remediate. Answer C. The section remains hidden until exactly two Service Health notification email addresses are configured. Answer D. Service Health has not detected any issues in the organization's environment that currently require organizational action. Lock in your answer. The supported choice is D. Service Health has not detected any issues in the organization's environment that currently require organizational action. Microsoft documentation states that the Organization Action section is not visible when there are no detected issues in the organization's environment that need action. Treat conditional dashboard section visibility as a bounded state signal. Do not extend it to unrelated sections or unlisted symptoms. Question 22. A rotating service desk needs support@contoso.com as one persistent inbox that all operators can monitor. Replies must appear to recipients as coming from support@contoso.com, rather than from an individual operator. Which Exchange Online resource should an administrator create and assign to the operators? Answer A. A distribution group that delivers a separate copy to each operator's personal mailbox. Answer B. A shared mailbox with the service desk operators added as members. Answer C. An individual user mailbox that forwards incoming mail to the operators. Answer D. A Microsoft 365 group mailbox used instead of assigning operators to a shared mailbox. Lock in your answer. A shared mailbox is the documented resource for a group that must monitor and send email from a common address. Go with B. A shared mailbox with the service desk operators added as members. When a team needs both a common persistent inbox and a common outward identity, choose the collaborative mailbox resource documented for both behaviors, rather than a delivery-only pattern. Question 23. A support team uses an existing common mailbox. Each operator must be able to open the mailbox and manage its messages. Replies must display only the mailbox identity, and every operator must be able to review those replies in the mailbox's Sent Items folder. Which 3 actions should an administrator take? Answer A. Remove full access after Send As is granted to the operators. Answer B. Grant the operators full access permission to the mailbox. Answer C. Grant the operators Send on Behalf permission to the mailbox. Answer D. Enable the shared mailbox Sent Items options for messages sent from the mailbox. Answer E. Keep the default Sent Items behavior and use each operator's Sent Items folder as the record of sent replies. Answer F. Grant the operators Send As permission to the mailbox. Lock in your answer. For shared mailboxes, separate 3 decision axes: mailbox access, displayed sender identity, and the location where sent copies are retained. Full access lets each operator open the shared mailbox and manage its contents, but it does not grant the right to send. Go with B, D, and F. Use B. Grant the operators full access permission to the mailbox. Pair it with D. Enable the shared mailbox Sent Items options for messages sent from the mailbox. Complete the set with F. Grant the operators Send As permission to the mailbox. Question 24. Nina already has access to a department mailbox and can manage its messages. When she sends a reply, the recipient visible sender information must identify both Nina and the department mailbox. Which permission should an administrator grant? Answer A. Send As. Answer B. Send on Behalf. Answer C. Full access. Answer D. Shared mailbox Sent Items. Lock in your answer. Use the required recipient visible identity to distinguish Send As from Send on Behalf. Mailbox access and sent copy storage are separate controls. Answer B is correct. Send on Behalf. Send on Behalf is the permission whose sender presentation identifies the delegate and the shared mailbox, matching the required Nina on behalf of outcome. Question 25. A product team contains 60 members. A pending acquisition workspace must be available only to 8 named people who are already members of the team. The workspace's participation model must be limited to selected members of the parent team, rather than include people who are outside that team. Which channel should you create? Answer A. A standard channel whose 8 participants are promoted to team co-owners. Answer B. A standard channel in the existing team. Answer C. A shared channel containing the 8 selected people. Answer D. A private channel containing the 8 selected team members. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Teams defines a private channel for selected team members. Classify the audience before choosing a Teams channel. All team members maps to standard. selected team members maps to private, and selected people inside and outside the team maps to shared. The answer is D, a private channel containing the 8 selected team members. Question 26. A department is creating a new Microsoft Teams team. An existing Microsoft 365 group is the authoritative roster, and additions or removals from that group must flow to Teams. The department also requires another person to manage team settings and membership if the initial owner is unavailable. Which 2 actions should be taken? Answer A. Create the team based on the existing Microsoft 365 group. Answer B. Promote another team member to owner. Answer C. Create an independent team and invite users manually whenever the group roster changes. Answer D. Create a private channel for the people who administer the roster. Answer E. Add another person as a team member without changing that person's role. Lock in your answer. The choices are A and B. First, A. Create the team based on the existing Microsoft 365 group. Then, B. Promote another team member to owner. Creating the team from the existing Microsoft 365 group uses automatic synchronization of group membership with Teams. Treat roster authority and administrative authority as separate choices. Group-backed creation addresses membership synchronization, while the owner role addresses team governance. Question 27. A project is managed in an existing Microsoft Teams team. Only selected team members and 2 partner users who are not members of the team should collaborate in one channel. The rest of the team must not have access to that channel, and no separate team should be created. Which channel approach should the owner use? Answer A. Create a shared channel and add the selected team members and partner users. Answer B. Create a private channel and add the selected team members and partner users. Answer C. Create a standard channel in the existing team. Answer D. Create a replacement team based on an existing Microsoft 365 group. Lock in your answer. Now consider option B. A private channel supports selected team members, but the required audience also includes partner users who are outside the team. The documented channel type for selected people inside and outside the team is a shared channel. A shared channel can include selected people from inside and outside the team. That points to A. Create a shared channel and add the selected team members and partner users. Choose a channel type by the required audience: all team members, selected team members, or selected people inside and outside the team. Question 28. A Teams meeting policy has transcription turned off. For meetings organized under the policy, the Copilot meeting option is set to during and after the meeting. Licensed users must be able to interact with Copilot without waiting for another participant to start transcription. What should an administrator change? Answer A. Require an authorized participant to start transcription in each meeting. Answer B. Change only the meeting recording controls. Answer C. Leave transcription off and retain the organizer's during and after the meeting option. Answer D. Enable transcription in the Teams meeting policy. Lock in your answer. Evaluate the organizer's Copilot option together with the governing transcription policy. The meeting option alone may not overcome an off-policy state. The transcription policy affects whether and how Copilot works. With transcription off and the organizer option set to during and after the meeting, licensed users cannot interact with Copilot unless a participant who has permission starts transcription. Choose D. Enable transcription in the Teams meeting policy. Question 29. An organization requires meetings created by affected organizers to start with Copilot available during and after the meeting, using a saved transcript. Organizers must not be able to change that Copilot meeting option. Which policy configuration meets the requirement? Answer A. Configure the recording and transcription section without applying the enforced Copilot value. Answer B. Set the Copilot policy value to enabled with transcript. Answer C. Turn transcription off and set the organizer option to during and after the meeting. Answer D. Turn transcription off and rely on a participant with permission to start transcription. Lock in your answer. For policy governance questions, verify both the initial Copilot value and whether organizers may overwrite it. A matching default is not enough when enforcement is required. The supported choice is B. Set the Copilot policy value to enabled with transcript. On with saved transcript required, represented by enabled with transcript, sets the meeting option default to during and after the meeting, and enforces that value so organizers cannot change it. Question 30. A Teams administrator must change the tenant's meeting transcription policy. Which two supported administrative methods can the administrator use to manage that policy? Answer A. Change only the meeting recording setting for affected organizers. Answer B. Use the allow transcription parameter for a CS Teams meeting policy PowerShell command. Answer C. Use the recording and transcription section in the Teams admin center. Answer D. Change the organizer's Copilot option in one meeting. Answer E. Ask a participant with permission to start transcription during each meeting. Lock in your answer. Microsoft documents two administrative paths for the transcription policy: the recording and transcription section in the Teams admin center, and the allow transcription parameter in the CS Teams meeting policy PowerShell command family. Distinguish a policy's administrative surfaces from organizer choices and in-meeting actions that operate after policy evaluation. Both B and C apply. One answer is B. Use the allow transcription parameter for a CS Teams meeting policy PowerShell command. The second is C. Use the recording and transcription section in the Teams admin center. Question 31. Before expanding Microsoft 365 Copilot, an organization exports its 100 most used SharePoint sites. The immediate goal is to identify which of those sites have an overshared permission state before any remediation is selected. What should the organization run next? Answer A. Restricted access control on every exported site. Answer B. A SharePoint Advanced Management Access Review for every SharePoint site. Answer C. A SharePoint Advanced Management Permission State Report. Answer D. Restricted SharePoint search for the tenant. Lock in your answer. The best response is C. A SharePoint Advanced Management Permission State Report. Compare that with option B. An access review is a relevant next stage action for sites already identified as overshared, but the immediate requirement is to determine which highly used sites are overshared first. The permission state report is the documented assessment step after exporting the top 100 most used sites. Separate readiness work into assessment, review, enforcement, and discoverability phases. Choose the mechanism that produces the immediate requested outcome. Question 32. During a governed Microsoft 365 Copilot rollout, an organization wants sensitive SharePoint content to be harder for users to discover. The immediate change must target discoverability rather than assess or alter site permissions. Which control should the organization consider? Answer A. SharePoint Advanced Management Permission State Report. Answer B. Restricted access control on business-critical sites. Answer C. Restricted SharePoint search. Answer D. SharePoint Advanced Management Access Review. Lock in your answer. The question deliberately excludes permission assessment and permission remediation outcomes. Answer C is correct. Restricted SharePoint search. When a scenario distinguishes finding, permission enforcement, and discoverability, do not treat these outcomes as interchangeable, even though all can appear in Copilot data readiness work. Question 33. A SharePoint Advanced Management Permission State report has already identified a set of overshared sites. The organization must now review access across all identified overshared sites and then enforce tighter access specifically on the business-critical sites in that set. Which two actions meet the requirement? Answer A. Run another permission state report for the identified overshared sites. Answer B. Start a SharePoint Advanced Management Access review for all identified overshared sites. Answer C. Apply restricted access control to all identified overshared sites. Answer D. Implement restricted SharePoint search to reduce content discoverability. Answer E. Apply restricted access control to the business-critical sites. Lock in your answer. Once assessment has identified oversharing, map each remaining requirement to its scope. Review all overshared sites, then enforce restricted access on the business-critical subset. After overshared sites are identified, the documented remediation sequence is to start a SharePoint Advanced Management Access review for all overshared sites, and then apply restricted access control to business-critical sites. B and E complete the answer. Take B. Start a SharePoint Advanced Management Access review for all identified overshared sites. Then take E. Apply restricted access control to the business-critical sites. You have completed 33 questions in this part of the AB-650 practice set. You practiced matching administrative controls to the right audience, surface, prerequisite, and operational scope. Carry those distinctions into the next set and keep choosing the response that satisfies the exact requirement rather than the most familiar product name. Thanks for practicing with WebLizard Labs and WebLizard Cert Lab. Continue with the next part of the AB650 practice set whenever you are ready.